as a player.
Okay.
You can actually make it so. I guess some enemy animals can attack. The coyote still can't, even if you do the bite thing.
I want my pig to attack.
Buddy joined your
I want to have
channel.
an attack pig.
Your pig can play fetch. That's good enough.
User was moved to your channel. User was moved
Fetch
to your
pig.
channel.
10 out of 10.
User was moved to your
And
channel.
it works like a
Buddy
charm. It
was
cracks
moved to
me
your
up.
channel.
He like jogs over to pick up the ball.
I love how the fucking radio settings are only
Buddy
for
was
that
moved to your
channel.
channel.
That is so cool.
It's really annoying too,
User
though.
was moved to your channel. User was moved to
The
your
radio
channel.
click isn't though. That's the only issue.
So
Yeah, Denny, probably don't stream the staff meeting.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Oh, we're going to staff
turn up my
meeting?
stream.
am I allowed to record it for staff that miss it?
That, yeah, stream it now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just recording.
Nice.
User was moved to your channel.
What's the trick to being able to join the channel here?
It's a directives only thing, so just gotta move you. Don't ask me. I'll fix it.
Yeah, it should be just staff.
Alright.
Because we have the boardroom for directors.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got proper things turned off and proper things turned on.
Yeah, I'm not streaming, so we're good.
User joined your channel.
Alright, guys.
Alright, people should be able to join now. I don't know why they couldn't set to 50.
Everybody should be able to join, right? Because I opened it to everybody. It's just, if they're not staff, they need to not have talk power.
Nah, it's cute staff. Everyone's busy.
Give me just a second. Let me go get some water.
No, I make it so that it's open to everybody. I put that in the forums. We're going to follow that. We have transparency for a reason.
I'm trying to fix that channel so people can join, because apparently 50 join power means people
Alright,
can't join.
well, if anybody can join, are we allowed to stream or no?
Yeah, you can stream.
Alright, because I'll
Oh,
stream
yeah.
it through mine because Marshall is sitting in my stream right now, so.
Tell Marshall he's a nerd.
You might have actually just told him yourself. I think I just did it.
All right, let's do this.
Gonna be arrested here soon. Swear to God.
Langley's waiting. I think I don't know what's going on with that.
Alright.
Okay. So everybody who's got
Your
some
channel was
staff
edited.
role here in the channel now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Hang tight while I get myself together here. Sorry, I got bombarded with like 50 messages right before the
User
meeting,
was
so
moved to your channel.
just trying to get myself
I'm
back in
assuming
order
someone
here.
from Wyatt.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
even know what it was.
Wyatt's a good friend of mine. He's been trying to get a hold of you for like 2 weeks now.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to him after the meeting.
Sweet, sweet.
Okay, so basically the staff meeting, first of all, we wanted to kind of just address our state of affairs and you know how we're doing as a community, kind of let you guys know. You know, obviously, you guys, a lot of you were at the community meeting. If you weren't at the community meeting, or the community briefing rather, wasn't really a true meeting. I'm sure you probably heard, but just to say it one more time so everybody is in the know, Genova is gone. He left the community. He's no longer a part of it. He's actually starting his own, using, you know, what framework he had finished at the time. And, you know, whatever, that's fine. He can do what he wants to do. As far as we go, though, obviously that means V2's gone. It's not on the table anymore. So for the time being, we're using ESX. Scrub has done a lot of work in the last couple days, which is phenomenal. The amount of work he's done. He's gotten the new updates in for a lot of the things. He got is the patch out yet? Scrub?
Yes.
Okay, patch is out. So that patch includes several fixes for things that we were having bugs with, several new things, including housing for players. The nice thing about it is we worked last night and we worked through a problem where it was basically exploitable, that if you logged out in the house, you would come back in that different instance, and when you came outside the house, nobody could see you except for your player number. He got that fixed. We tried a couple different options, and finally we had the idea, well, what if it forces you back into the primary instance when you leave the house, or when you log back on? And it does, and so that's fixed. It should not be exploitable. Admins, do us a favor, please, and really watch that close, just for the time being, just to make sure that, you know, when you test something versus putting it on a live server, sometimes it behaves differently. So let's make 100% sure.
Are we looking for invisible people?
You're looking for, yeah, so what you're looking for is people that are going into the house that they buy and logging out and making sure that they're visible to everybody when they come back out, when they log back on.
This is
So
what's
you see
gonna
an
make us
invisible
to
person.
worlds, boy.
Essentially, that's how they did it. That's how we were doing it when we were testing it until it was
This
fixed.
is what's
Now
gonna
it
make
should be
us to
fixed,
worlds,
honestly.
boy.
There shouldn't be an issue with that. So
So if we see invisible bank robberies, we know.
Right, and we know how it got done, how they did it. So that's the only way that I know of to do it. That's the only way Scrub knows of. That you could have done it, before it was hopefully fixed completely. I told him go ahead and push it in the update because I think it is fixed. But again, this is where your guys' eyes and ears come in handy to make sure that the fixes and the new features that we push out are actually working the way they should be working. And so
define working. Me and Chaos came across a similar bug to where we can't actually enter each other's houses. Nor do I see it when she buys the house. It's still for sale on my end, and I can buy it as well.
So that's
We can enter the
intended
same
right
house.
now because of
It's
the lack of
instant.
housing. Yeah, so because of the lack of housing, we don't have that many houses available right now, so multiple people can own the same house, quote unquote. But what it is when you purchase it and you go in, it's instanced. So you are not in the same instance anymore as the other
it's
person.
like what it was before. You had to invite that person to come in.
Correct. If you
That's
want
still
somebody
Okay,
not
in
well, how do
your
we invite them? This is
So
what we were trying to
you
figure
go
out.
to the closet. There's in each house there's an area near the closet that has a green circle, and that's where you put your inventory. You can put guns, drugs, all kinds of things in the inventory in there, clothing as well. And right there's a thing that says invite player, and as long as they're within about I think it's 100 feet distance from your front door, they come up on the list, and you can invite that player to come into your house. And then when they get
It
that
works
invite,
better on the green circle, but either way.
Is
So-
this the same housing script that we had back in the day when we first started?
No, it's similar. It's an ESX script, obviously, because we're still on ESX, but it's rewritten, essentially.
Right. It's just the instancing and coming out invisible was one of the main problems that we were having with that last one.
Right, and I think we've got it fixed. We
Alright.
tested the hell out of it last night. We tried every way that we could to stay invisible when you leave the house, and there just isn't a way that we can find. So, and it should work 100%. Like I said, the inventories in the houses work. The ability to invite people into your house, into your instance works. Now, you'll be able to, like, let's say you invite somebody in, and then you leave the house and you go into town or whatever, they're going to still be able to come in and out of your house. Now, right now, until we figure out a fix for it, if you log off, then their invite goes away and they can't come in your house anymore. So right now you can't dual residence. We're working on it. I was looking at some things today to see if there's ways that we can include that into the script. And really the only way I can figure out how to do that is essentially if houses are independent, meaning that not more than one person can own a house. Which isn't really on the table right now because we just don't have enough houses, is what it comes down to. Once we have more, and Scrub said he's planning on doing that, then we will make houses individual and keep apartments to where you can have multiple people renting apartments.
Alright. Did we see if the instancing had any adverse effects on Carmageddon and overspawning pedestrians and shit like that?
It doesn't that we can tell so far.
Alright, that's
Again,
good.
this is where it's up to you
We
guys
need
as
to
staff.
see it.
Yep, eyes and ears out there. Make sure that when people are going into instancing in houses, that it's not causing respawns. Right.
I
right
actually
now it's
noticed
not.
that earlier. There was over at the Lost. There was like 20,000 bikers spawning over there.
I think that's still due to the fact that we have a custom thing in there for the like the stores and stuff like that. Because there's no
No,
reason.
there wasn't any major pedestrian spawns when we were actually using it and everything.
One thing I want to point out about that is if you do see it, use /report, and for the admins in here, you can no clip through AI and they will go away. So if you don't already know that, now you do.
Can someone drag Murphy in here?
He's in AFK.
Yeah.
Buddy was moved to your channel.
Another thing that I noticed is that when me and Chaosica entered the same house, we were still in the same instance. She was just invisible, basically. I could see
Yeah,
her,
he could push me around. But that
I was about to
because we
ask that question because that's what happened the last time.
Yeah, so right now, because the way ESX works, and again, this is a limitation of the framework, essentially, yes, what it does is it visibly instances you, it doesn't actually physically instance you, and so, you'll still be able to see player number, and you'll still be able to hear them, and I don't. Can you push each other around? I know you can't hit each other. You become basically.
You can he would literally walked into me and pushed me to the side. So.
Okay.
Well, that's what happened the last time too when that
We did
framework was
test it
out.
where you cannot
hear
shoot
walking
each
all
other.
that.
You can't hit each other with weapons or anything like that. So you can't kill somebody who you can't see, which is good. But yeah, you'll be able to hear and you'll be able to see the player number. But the idea here is that realistically, how many times is a player going to be on and in the house at the same exact time as another player who owns that house? And so ideally it won't happen often, if at all, but it is a known bug, and frankly right now we have no idea how to fix it because it's a stupid ESX thing. It would essentially take a completely different script, which then of course when you put in non-ESX scripts, very high chance that it's going to break ESX. So we have housing. It's not perfect. We realize it's not perfect. It's not exactly what we want either by any means, but at least we have the ability to own a house and store stuff in it. No, one thing we did test too is, let's say you both buy the same house. One of you goes into your house, the other one goes into their house. You're in different visual instances, but you're both in the same house. The inventory in the house is specific to your database, to your account. So the nice thing about that is that, if you go into the same instance as another person and you open up, if you own that house and you open up the inventory, unlike before where you would actually open their inventory, you're opening your own now. So you can't, underhandedly steal somebody's stuff by getting into the same house as them.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like I said, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty exploit proof right now as far as we can tell. But again, staff, keep your eyes on that. Make sure it's not happening.
I have a question. Can two people access or I guess can everybody access your quote unquote inventory if you invite them into the house?
No. The only way they'd even be able to see the inventory circle is if they own the house also, but then it would be their inventory. If they don't own the house also, they won't even see the inventory circle.
Okay. Because one thing I know is kind of and kind of not an exploit is the trunk system. So I think some drugs are getting lost legitimately, but one thing I've been informed of is if two people take the same drugs out of the trunk at the same time, it will dupe it. But the trunk will reclaim what's its. So if you put drugs back in it, it will take it back. So it kind of solves itself. So just be careful if somebody constantly quote unquote loses stuff out of their trunk. They're probably duping.
Yeah, exactly. And we are aware of that, and we've been brainstorming some fixes for it. Now, the nice thing about the trunk inventory system is that is not ESX. That's an individual script that's designed to work with ESX, as far as databasing. So it should be a lot easier to get fixed. It's just a matter of actually tackling it. Obviously that was not one of our priority bugs. It's a priority, but it wasn't on the top of the list. So we're trying to tackle the things that are absolutely game breaking and absolutely exploitable right now. There are several things that are still exploitable. One of which I'll talk about next. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about the housing?
So far, they look good.
Yes, actually. So this means that, like, what if a police officer gets a warrant for the house, or is the police officer going to be able to access the inventory that the suspect or criminal has to?
Not yet. We're working to add that in to where basically there's going to be a raid feature that puts you. Essentially, what has to happen, as far as a technical standpoint, as far as the scripting standpoint, is when you have a raid feature that you activate in game, what that does is it accesses the database table of the person that owns that house and gives that officer or those officers who use the raid feature, it gives them access to that database table, which then they can pull that information into game and translate it into guns or drugs or whatever the case may be. That's challenging because you're telling an account number, because that's how databases work, is by account numbers. You're telling one account number to access the database of another account number, and it sounds easy in theory, but in doing that, there's a really, really good chance you crash the entire server. And so that's a ways out, I would say, at the best. We're going to get our devs working on that as soon as we have other bigger issues fixed, because honestly right now rating is not a priority. Yes, it will be in the future, especially when we address more law enforcement stuff, but right now we just wanted a housing system that people can go and spend some money and buy a house and put their inventory in it.
I can actually say right now I can see Kioska and Ender in the same instance.
She invited you.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, if you're invited, you'll see him in the same visual instance. So, any other questions, comments about housing? Okay.
Okay, the one thing that just did happen is when I exited the house, they came out with me.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that okay, that I think Scrub set it back to that. We had it to where they would stay in, but it was causing issues, so I think he set it back to that. So right now, yeah, if you're gonna have somebody else in your house, you got to be in there with them. There's already scripting to change that. I just think it's too buggy right now, and that's probably why he took it back out for the time being, because we were having some issues with that.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, the next thing that we're addressing is basically broken economy. We all know right now that our economy is artificially influxed because of the availability of doing drugs.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the issue is right now it's essentially, once you find out where the drugs are, once you talk to somebody who knows where the drugs are, you can pretty much
just farm cash.
Yeah, exactly. You could just farm it. Unlimited farming of drugs. It does two things that are really, really bad for the server, for the community. One is it prevents any reason to do any legal jobs, because why would you do a legal job and get paid a heck of a lot less than if you do drugs with very little risk? And or there's risk, sure, from law enforcement, but it's not a huge risk, let's be honest, if you're law abiding and stuff like that, other than the drugs in your trunk.
Follow a couple rules, you'll never get busted.
Right, exactly. So right. And so basically it reduces any reason to do any legal jobs. And then the second thing is that it gives people a ton of money quickly, and that's why we have high performance cars, supercars, all that all over the road all the time.
At least everyone has one or two.
Right. I mean, we looked yesterday at the database, and there's some people that are running around with almost $400,000 cash on them and well over 2 to 3 million in the bank. And that's excessive for the amount of time that they've spent getting that money. It should be a lot less. So the
Weirdest
fix.
thing I've seen was a default Danny driving a fucking Lamborghini.
Right. Yeah. He might have stolen it, granted, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, the fix that we've come up with, and again, this is kind of a temporary fix that's not a permanent fix, but what we're gonna do is Scrub is going to basically there will be, you know, your standard site for collection of the product, and then there will be a standard site for, you know, the manufacturing. So A and B, if you consider it, point A is collection, B is manufacturing, and C is selling. A and B will be a standard site for each of the different drugs, but then C, the selling point, what we're going to do is we're going to table about 10 different locations per drug, and we're going to write a script that essentially RNGs where that location is at that time. And so for every server restart, the location will change.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That is fantastic.
Yep. And the idea there is that, yeah, you're going to be able to get the drugs, you're going to be able to process the drugs, but then, you know, unless you have a buddy who's found it or something like that, it's going to be very hard to figure out where to actually sell the drugs, which kind of emulates real world because let's face it, you know, most of your drug dealers, they have somebody who provides for them. They have, you know, either their middleman or their trafficker, and then their job is to sell it, and selling takes time, and that's where every drug dealer ever gets caught. That's everybody I've ever had my handcuffs on as far as drugs goes. They were in the process of trying to sell product for the most part, and so here it'll do the same thing where they'll have the product on them in their trunk, whatever the case may be, much more vulnerable to law enforcement, and then they're going to have to run around and try to figure out where the selling point is, which means they're going all over the place, which, you know, puts them in county, puts them in city, et cetera, et cetera. Also, it means that it could be a while before they actually find where to sell it, and so, you know, that entire time it's a risk.
They're running around with drugs on them.
Right. There's a lot more risk to it, and, you know, of course the reward is real. When you find where to sell it, yeah, absolutely, you'll still make pretty decent money. But what this will do is it'll prevent people from just farm spamming money from drugs, because each restart it's going to be different. And essentially, also, this gives the opportunity for big groups. It gives a reason for people to role play together, because big groups can work together, try to figure out where these locations are, and then when they find it, they can actually exploit that. Not exploit in a bad way, but exploit it money wise by selling the location.
Yeah.
Or just controlling the location and controlling that drug trade. Either way, it allows for a lot of RP. It allows for a rebalance of our economy, and it allows for us to have a way to prevent massive amounts of money making, which we thought about increasing the payout for legal jobs, but by doing this, we don't have to increase the payout for legal jobs, because legal jobs are going to be appealing again, because it's going to be a constant. You'll know how to make money. It's not a ton of money, but there's no risk, or very, very, very little risk, obviously, and the reward is constant and known. Whereas drugs, high risk, reward isn't a constant, and it's not for sure whether you're going to make money off of it anytime soon.
I honestly, I can see this happening to where people are going to be using third-party applications, trying to find out where all locations are instead of using their phone.
Well, I mean, it'd be foolish for a person who finds out where that location is to do that, wouldn't it? Because then their ability to make money off of it is out the door.
Not if it's a group.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know, 8 people that had no contact with the person in character now know where the drug cell is.
Yeah, I mean, we could still use our normal way. Like, if one person, like, if we know 2 people to be friends, right, and one person finds it, and the other guy magically just shows up, and there's no trace of a text in the database or anything, then yeah, then they're, you know, editing for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, same way we're policing it now.
We can't prevent that 100%. This is where it comes down to making sure that we have good players, good people in the community. If you see somebody who is questionable in the things they do and their ethics and their integrity and things like that, they're probably not a good fit, because those are the kind of people that are going to be doing that. if we have people who, you know, have integrity in role play, the kind of people we want, then, you know, the chances of that happening are still obviously there, and we can't mitigate it. No matter how much we do, no matter what we try to do, we can't monitor every third-party program out there. We just can't. There's no way to. So it's, again, it like Glendale said, it's a matter of keeping your eye out for suspicious things, and it will be suspicious. I mean, you know, if you observe one person who finds where the drugs are sold, and then all of a sudden, you know, 10 people that person hangs out with all the time are just right there, go check and have a dev check database and see if a text was sent out. And if it wasn't, then they're doing it through a third party program. You know, again, this is kind of where we have to be creative in how we police our community and make sure that, you know, things are on the up and up. Can we completely prevent it? No. To think we could is foolish, but we can keep an eye on, you know, try to figure out if people are using things like that they shouldn't.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty blatant, and you could definitely tell the repeat offenders.
Right, right. And if we do have repeat offenders, it's time to get rid of that person.
Yeah, exactly. Get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're not good for the community. They're not here to do the right thing. So, Givings, go ahead. It's fixed.
Yes.
What do you mean? What was broken?
They would disappear when you relog.
Oh, so now it just stays with you? I thought that was like on purpose. I thought it was on purpose.
Nope, it's database. There just wasn't a slot in the database for it. Scrub put in a slot in the database and the tables for it, so it's fixed. So all your dirty money in your inventory will stay when you log.
Oh man, I kind of like that.
That was 90% of our 90% of our calls as admins is I need a comp, I need a comp, I need a comp. That's like,
yeah, we realize
now we can tell who's lying. Like, oh, I just lost a bunch of money. Like, okay, no, you're full of shit.
Yeah, no, that is fixed. And as far as we can tell, it's working 100% because we can actually see logging for dirty money in the database now. So
is it live? Like it logs in live?
It's live.
Nice.
I think. Well, it has to be because yeah, that's the way it works.
That way, there is no rollback. Then, even if there's a server crash, the rollback would be what, like 5 minutes at max or something like that.
Say 5 or 10 minutes.
I think the longest rollback that we could possibly end up having is 20 minutes. I think it updates the save by 20 minutes at a time. I think Scrub might have increased it because we have a huge amount of bandwidth now on our new box.
Nice.
Not to get off topic, but just to let you guys know, just so you're in the know, our new box that we have, our new server host, we have our data cap is 64,000 gigs. We did testing over the last few days. In a 24-hour period, the most we've used is just at 100 gigs a day for a 24-hour period. So if you do the math, if you're a math whiz, if we were to do, let's increase it. Let's say we add 2 more servers and we increase it to 400 gigs every 24 hours, which is a huge amount. I don't think we'd ever reach that. But if we did, at the end of the month, after 30 days, we'd still have 24,000 gigs left.
Nice. So can we shorten that interval for when it saves?
I think he might have. I have to ask him.
Like the shorter the interval, the easier it is for the the admins on the ground to actually.
It is, yeah,
help,
because then there's no comping and stuff, or very little comping. So yeah, I think we can shorten the intervals on the save. The other thing that we're looking at doing is putting our website and our TeamSpeak on the box because then they're free. Because we're already paying for the box. Now the only downside to that, and I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on this, is if we do that, even though we have great DDoS protection, and we do, the server we got has phenomenal protection against attacks, but if somebody's good enough or uses enough systems, if it was a big enough attack, and we did get DDoSed and it was successful, that means everything goes down. TeamSpeak goes down, website goes down, everything.
I think the forums are fine, but you should keep the TeamSpeak separate.
To be honest,
you still want people to be able to communicate.
No, that's where Discord will come in.
Well, I suppose.
And because Discord is run on its own server, so that's something that we could use for if something like that actually did happen.
Well,
yeah,
you mean as far as like if the server crashes, then all the vehicles go to impound?
Yeah, it's not all of them. It's whatever vehicle you had out at the time goes to impound, and we get a lot of we get a good amount of people coming in and saying, "Oh my, the crash made my vehicle go to impound. Can I get comp 3K?" But that's really not a huge deal. Like it does kind of annoy, but with a lot of this extra weight taken off with the dirty money and this other stuff, the three grand comp can be done remotely, and it doesn't really matter.
Can it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it can be.
send money 3 grand all the time.
How do you do that? Divide them
Dude,
cash?
it's just do /a help, and the commands are in there.
Yeah,
What?
it's /give money space player ID space 3 grand.
Oh my
Or
god, nobody told me
3,000.
this.
Yeah,
So the other question I have for that then would be, is the issue when a crash happens, say in Los Santos Customs or something, and you've spent your money on your upgrades, because you can spend up to $30,000 on upgrades. Is that going to be cached in the server log as well, or?
Yeah, it will be. Upgrades are saved in the database to your vehicle, toward that vehicle. So if your vehicle gets impounded or put back in your garage or whatever the case may be, all those upgrades save.
He's talking about when you're upgrading the vehicle, the time between going to the custom shop and then bringing it to your garage, it's not actually saved into the database yet.
Yeah, because I've lost several hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
doing that.
so
well, and
this happens every once in a while. And what I do to check if they're lying or not is it crashes in the game or in the custom shop, right? If somebody says they crashed in the custom shop and they lost their car and they want X amount of money, go to the custom shop they crashed in, and you'll be able to hear their engine. If you don't hear any engine sounds, then they're lying.
True that.
Yeah, I like that one about the engine.
Yeah, you'll hear their engine. The car is there, but it's invisible. So if you hear the engine, then yeah, their car did get they did crash in the thing. They won't be able to get their car or money back unless it's comped, and it's kind of honor system whether how much money they're going to tell you that they spent.
I don't honestly know of a way that we could fix that. What we could do as far as, the time between leaving customs and getting to your garage to actually save the database, is what we could probably do is we could probably just add a write to database. So when you hit enter to leave the garage, that would write to database right at that point. That wouldn't be too hard, but that's not going to solve the issue of crashing well in the shop.
Yeah. I've noticed that's gone down a bit. It used to happen a lot, like a month ago, maybe even a few weeks ago. But I've noticed it's happened. Like it's much more rare now. I don't know what's changed, but yeah.
Well, the only problem with that is, what if the person tries to save gas and actually turns their engine off?
You can't. Once you enter in the shop, you lose control over the vehicle.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You would have to turn it off outside and press enter with them, and it would be highly unlikely. If somebody did that, they're definitely lying because it's quite the story.
Blocked that. I think if the vehicle engine's not running, it won't actually allow you to go into the shop. I'm pretty sure that's blocked in the script.
I can test that right now.
Yeah, if you would. If it's not, we can easily do that.
I'm driving.
All we got to do is just a if true statement. So if engine on true, then allow. If not, then don't allow.
What's a Callum? Learning code.
Yeah, I've learned a lot since starting all this.
I have one big issue though.
What's that?
There is this issue about vehicles in general just not working. For instance, let's say someone else gets into the vehicle, they can't get it on. They can't turn it on. They can't start it.
It's the key. The delete key turns off where you won't actually be able to push the start thing. What you actually have to do if you have an extra person in your car,
not even that.
The start isn't working. You have to hit Alt and
go into the menu.
Get through there.
I'm surprised you had it because I've never had an issue with it. It's probably a
yeah, that doesn't work for me sometimes either. I was actually what happened was I wasn't. No one was. Yeah, what happened to me was no one was actually in my car, but I had a lot of other player cars parked around me. And when I went to get back into my SUV to go to a call, it was a police car. I tried turning the engine on with delete, and it didn't turn on, and I kept trying to turn it on with the left alt menu, and it didn't turn on either.
So there's even an issue
normally
where
if you get out, get back in,
it on, and it just won't even turn on.
Yeah, I did that a few times.
It won't even move. You can get it to turn on, but it won't move at all.
I think that's new.
I assume
sometimes you gotta have other players get in there and turn it on for you. And
yeah, because someone will be able to get into it and it'll start up, no issue.
No, me and a guy, we both had the same exact problem. His car was parked next to mine. I said, "You get in my car, start mine. I'll get in yours. You start."
It seems
I'll start
random
that.
sometimes.
That sounds like it's probably something to do with the script that we have that keeps engines on when police officers get out. That would be my guess. I'll put a Trello card up for our development team to take a look at that and see if we can't figure out that bug.
It's not police. I'm not police. It's global.
Well, I understand that, but because that script
it's linked in,
it links to every vehicle in the database and checks to see if it's police or if it's not police. It's probably something in that script because I've never heard of that problem before we put that in.
When was the script added? Was it like a week or 2 or maybe 3 weeks ago?
I think it was close to a month and a half ago.
It sounds about right. That's right around when the engine started acting kind of weird.
Okay, I almost guarantee it's tied to that script. So,
right.
Developers, take note. We'll put a Trello card up and see if we can't get that bug fixed.
And I don't know if it's on the radar or not, but multiple people having the same keys to a vehicle, I've noticed that there's a lot of desync on what's unlocked and what is locked, and it erroring out, and then forcing the vehicle to be locked no matter what you change the key on. I don't know if that's on your guys' radar or not, but
well, the whole key system is on the radar because we want to replace it. The way the vehicles lock and unlock right now is not great. I'm not happy with it, and I know most of our development team is not happy with it. What we want to do is we want to basically add a table to ESX that, essentially each vehicle, because we have identified vehicles right now, meaning if you purchase a vehicle, it identifies it in the database with a unique identifying number. And what we want to do is we want to attach a simple key identifier to that vehicle identifier, meaning that if you buy vehicle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you get key 1, for example, and then essentially everybody who has that key, and it can be duplicated and given to other people, essentially everybody who has that key can open vehicle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If that makes sense to everybody. So essentially it's a unique key identifier that goes to a unique vehicle identifier, and more than one of the keys can exist to that vehicle. And then that's the idea of the physical key system.
Yeah, don't forget there's a third alternative starting engines that there's the delete, there's the alt, there's also the F5.
F5 menu, yeah. Yeah, which is
Marshall's saying via my stream that F5 fixes it every time.
I was gonna say try that, because what it is that if you don't know this, if you're not aware of this as an admin or as a staff member, is the alt key. That's the ESX general key. Basically, alt, depending on what you're doing, does a bunch of different things, and they all talk to ESX framework, right? The F keys are the same thing, but they're their own script. So, for example, polcoms, that is a single script, deals with all the police stuff, and when you're in the police job, when you hit F6, that's your polcoms menu. Only polcoms. It won't work with any other script. It doesn't talk. I mean, it talks to the ESX script, but it doesn't work through the ESX script talking to polcoms. It works through polcoms talking to ESX. And so we always tell officers, if you're having a problem, for example, using X to handcuff or using your alt menu to do something with a civilian, use your F6 key, because it's designed specifically to talk to those scripts. F5 is the same way for vehicles, for civilian vehicles. F5 talks directly to the vehicle scripting and not through ESX. It goes, obviously it goes through it, but it doesn't go directly to it. So if alt isn't working on anything, use your F keys, because those will always work almost every time, because they talk directly to that particular section of the script. So if you're having that same problem, try that. And somebody, let us know if that fixes it or not, but still we'll address the bug.
I'll remember that.
Yep.
No, I just tested the garage with the engine off. It'll turn your engine on and just put you in.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we wanted it to do, and I think that's how it was written. So it should be working. Again, with all these scripts, guys, ES6 is not perfect, and our scripting is, for lack of a better term, bastardized all to hell.
Perfect is a very bold statement.
Right. But and then on top of it not being perfect, we have manipulated and
tore it all apart,
fornicated, and done everything you can do to ESX with all the different scripts that we have. And so while they work 99% of the time, and they work fairly well in comparison to other places that use ESX, there are chances that they might not work, and that's where it's your guys' job as staff to, watch for that, take reports for that, and let us know and the development team know so that, we can get it fixed or try to fix it. Everybody on the same page there?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay.
Marshall just wanted to know, when will the MD stop giving unselectable names?
So the okay, so what we have Adam lined out to do in order right now is GLG voice. He's finishing that up so we can get our VoIP in. And then he is working on some primary bug fixes for some very, very, very big things. And then the next thing after that is MDT. It's going to be basically rewritten and redesigned. It'll be the same basic framework, but it'll look different, it'll act different, and it will do disqualifying statements as well as qualifying statements. So if you enter in, for example, your password wrong, instead of just getting a white screen, which is like, well, that what I do, it will actually say incorrect password and take you back to the password screen. Or if you put in a wrong name or spell it wrong and hit enter, it won't just freeze it up and lock it up like it tends to do. What it'll do is it will say, identification not found or individual not found or some kind of qualifying statement like that. And then the other thing that's going to do is, instead of being kind of real DOS look to it, real early MDT systems where you have lines that you fill in, a lot of it's actually going to be more like a modern day tablet. So your opening screen on it will be the map, which Iggy is still working on. And that'll be the live map that'll actually show unit locations. It'll be ambulance as well as police. So Waters, your medic units will have running tabs of where medics are as well as police.
Oh, thank God, because we just in game were trying to find one medic. She had disappeared.
Yeah, so you'll have a running, and mind you, this isn't the actual individuals. It's the vehicle. It's AVLs.
No, that's the big thing, is the vehicles. Normally the medics aren't far from them.
Right. Typically they're not. The same with police. Typically they're not far from their car, but it can happen. So
yeah,
I
know this.
Don't be surprised if you find an empty vehicle. Yeah.
Doesn't the computers that they carry around with them in hand nowadays, aren't those considered as MVTs?
GPS tracking like and all my radio, when I pressed my panic button on my radio, it would send out a GPS signal which goes to dispatch to the enhanced 911 system, and it would show both my vehicle and my location if I press the panic button. But normally, if the panic button's not on, no, it doesn't show where I'm at. That's typically how they work on the 800 megahertz system, but we're not going to do that because that's a little too advantageous for law enforcement. If we know where their car is, fine and dandy. That's realistic. Every agency I've ever seen in the United States has AVLs. They're cheap, they're easy to use, dispatch uses them. But as far as, locating the individual as well as the vehicle, not only is that a pain in the ass code-wise, script-wise, but it's a little overpowered. So we're not going to do that. But anyway, as I was saying, your first page will be your maps, and then basically, if you click off of the map, there's going to be a screen that has a bunch of different clickable buttons, and they'll do different things. So instead of tabs at the bottom, it looks kind of a little bit, less modern. It's going to be like actual apps, kind of, if that makes sense. So there'll be an app for DMV. There'll be an app for, residential information. There'll be an app for personal information, stuff like that. So, the beacons? No, I hated those. Basically, what it will be is you'll hit your panic button and your car will, so your AVL in your car. So let's say you're out of your vehicle, we'll know where your vehicle is already. It'll just be on the map on it with its icon and its unit number next to it. But if you hit your panic button on your radio, what'll happen is your vehicle identifier will actually start flashing red that you're the one that hit your panic button and that's where your vehicle is. And then it's up to the officers to get there to where your vehicle is and then find you from there. So, but whether it'll draw a purple line on the map to get to you, I don't know. I mean, some of them do, some of them don't in real world. So we'll talk about it when we get to that. But like I said, Adam's got other priorities first that we've got him on. The biggest one, obviously, because we had it out, we took it back down, and it's being really rewritten, is GLG Voice. Now, what GLG Voice is going to do for us, for those who don't know, it puts a location and proximity based VoIP in game through TeamSpeak. And then the nice thing about it, the really cool thing about it, is all of our police radios, all of our medic radios, all those will all be in game as well. Meaning that if you talk on your radio, you can't not talk in game at the same time. It's just impossible to do that. You can whisper it, but you still will be heard if somebody's standing next to you. The other thing it will do, because Adam is writing a frequency program into it, meaning instead of just working on channel, a single, like you have channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, it's actually going to have frequencies like 98.9, 98.2, 101.1, whatever. It gives us over 1,000 frequencies, which means that we can tie frequencies to cell phones. And so if a person makes a cell phone call to another person in game, it will actually be a voice cell phone call. They'll talk to them using their voice, and anybody standing around them will hear their end of the call because they're standing next to them while they're talking.
Question.
Answer.
And this is completely unrelated, but how do you? I remember there being a key binding to set it to where when you talk in TeamSpeak, it actually does the whole animation of pressing the radio on your side.
Yeah, it's
how do you set that
interact
up
menu, and it's standard M, but I've changed mine to my mouse key that I use for TeamSpeak.
Right, it's in the interact menu.
Sometimes depends on where you're at. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have dispatch primary. That'll be one frequency. It's just essentially going to be called state dispatch, and that's where your 911 dispatcher, because we're going to have dispatchers. Don't forget. When somebody calls 911, and the way this will work in GLG Voices, they'll call 911 on their phone. A dispatcher will actually pick it up and answer it, and in voice in game they will say 911, what's your emergency? Player tells them, oh yeah, so and so is going on, whatever, somebody shot somebody, whatever. They stay on that phone call as long as the dispatcher wants them to, or as long as the person keeps their phone active and open. And then the dispatcher will be on the dispatch radio and basically dispatch that out to everybody according to what they need. And then if, for example, let's say it's a medical, and medics want to be on their own channel and not have to hear dispatch, which somebody always needs to stay on dispatch. That way, if dispatcher's calling you, they always can talk to you. And what they can do is they can switch to a medical frequency, and they can speak to each other on there however they want to. Now, what we're eventually going to do, and Adam said that he can do this, it's just going to take time, is essentially we're going to have the ability to scan multiple frequencies. So let's say, for example, you're on a call as an officer and you need to talk to other officers on that call. You'll put yourself on the primary as the frequency, the TAC 1, TAC 2, whatever you're using. And when you talk, you'll only be heard on on that channel, but the channels or the frequencies that you hear coming into you will be your primary dispatch, as well as your TAC 1 or TAC 2 or whatever you're on. So you'll actually scan and listen to more than one channel, but you'll only broadcast to the one channel that you have set as primary. He says that we can do it. He knows how to do it. It's just a matter of doing it.
So it's like Task Force Radio.
Right. It is essentially Task Force Radio. It's just being used in a different game. So yeah, so what that'll do is once that's working, is essentially it gives everybody the ability to speak and talk on their own channel to each other as they want to, without dispatch hearing them, but they'll also be able to hear dispatch, so that way when dispatch is calling them, they just change their frequency and talk back to dispatch, which will be very cool.
So with that, then I guess my question would be: is there going to be a long range, short range radio system like TFR does? And in Arma, it set it up where vehicles were installed with long range, and the person had short range. Is that going to be the same type of system here, or is it just going to be radios work because they're radios kind of thing?
It's going to be based on an 800 megahertz radio system. So, my handheld radio as an officer talks to the car repeater, and then their car repeater talks to a county repeater, and the county repeater talks to the primary radio, which is dispatch. So no matter where I'm at, the handheld works as long as I'm close enough to the car. And we're going to do the same thing. So handhelds and car radios won't be any different. In fact, there won't be technically, quote unquote, a car radio. It's just going to be your handheld. So, you'll always talk through the one radio, and you'll always be able to be heard. There won't be any interference or loss of communication or anything like that, because that's just not how modern radios work anymore. Back when we were on, UHF and VHF frequencies, yeah, you'd lose contact all the time with your handheld, and it sucked because you'd be out in the dark. But now with 800 megahertz, I've never once with my 800 megahertz radio lost communication with dispatch.
So on top of that, with this for RP reasons, is there going to be a physical radio people have to have so they're so they can be taken away to prevent metagaming and stuff like that, especially with criminal organizations? Since I knew you guys were planning on doing that, so is there going to be like a radio that can be confiscated or given?
Yes. So what we're going to do is there will be it won't be animated. It won't actually be an object that you see, but it will be a virtual inventory item, and it'll be a radio that you can purchase. So there will be civilian band radios that you can be purchased. And however many people have them, if they go to the same frequency, if you want to, like, if you're a gang leader and all 8 of your gang members have a radio, and you turn that radio to the frequency that you're all on, which will be one of the civilian band frequencies, then you can all hear each other at the same time. Now, as far as cell phones and radios go, they'll both be virtual items, so there will be no more of this I'm in handcuffs but I'm talking on my cell phone crap. That's not going to happen anymore. Essentially, officers will confiscate cell phones or radios when they're arresting somebody or detaining them, and searching them. That way, you're right, metagaming can't happen. So yes, it will be a virtual physical item, both the cell phone and the radio, and radios will be available to civilians.
Another thing, a friend of mine was wondering, this is supposed to be a channel open to the public, right? So anyone could join, but yet he still is having issues being able to have permission to join.
This channel?
Yes.
Can we get that fixed, please?
It might be the family properties.
Yeah, it's probably the staff meeting room proxy up there for properties.
It could be. Well, just let's get it fixed. But so anyway, that's basically what we're pressing on hard right now with, at least for as far as Adam's development, is GLG voice.
Your channel
any
is
other questions about that?
Do we have a rough estimate on an ETA for it, or is it just that it comes as it comes?
Well, we don't like to put time on anything because then we put ourselves on a deadline that we might, not hit, which always sucks. But the official word from Adam is that he has the majority of everything done on it, so soon, TM.
Well, at least we have a rough estimate. That's nice.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is it's pretty cool. I got to test it and everything, but the only thing was I could hear everyone, like cop radio stations and all that, and I'm not even a cop or anything.
Yeah, the frequency sync fixes that, and the problem that was occurring and why that was happening is because essentially it was recognizing everybody as being on channel 1. So getting rid of the specific channels and going to a frequency as opposed to channels fixes that and gives us more options. Like I said, we actually have voice on cell phones now and stuff like that when it works.
Can't wait for voice on cell phones. That'd be amazing.
Well, it'll be nice because then instead of just having texting only, you can actually talk to your friends on the cell phone. And we are actually going to put a little destruction on it too, so when you're using your cell phone, it'll actually sound like you're on a phone.
That'd be cool.
All about immersion, right?
Oh yeah, all about immersion.
Immersion is life.
Immersion.
Let's see. I think that's really all I had on the list. The one thing I want to stress to you guys, because I'm sure some of you have gotten questions, a lot of people are asking, at least I'm getting a lot of questions, is, people are saying, well, what happened to Genova? And, or, where's V2? Why aren't we getting V2? Essentially, we don't want you guys to just say, oh, don't worry about it, because then it looks like we're trying to hide something, and we're not trying to hide something. If somebody asks, or, if the question comes up, essentially all you need to tell them is, Genova basically decided to move on a vote with the director's board to dissolve the director's board. And essentially he would be in charge, and then everybody would have their own thing that they would do, that they would be in charge of, but there wouldn't be any more votes. There wouldn't be a collective board that makes decisions for the community.
It's not really a democracy at that point.
It's not, exactly. And personal feelings aside on it, because I did obviously have my personal feelings on it. We just decided, by vote, that wasn't what we wanted. And it's not like it was an overwhelming majority vote. It was a vote, and it was a winning vote to not do that. But in the end, when that vote went that way, he decided the community wasn't what he was wanting, and he was unhappy with how things were going, apparently. And so he left. And because he was the one writing the framework for V2, because he's a programmer real world, we lost V2. He took it with him. Not a, not a great thing. Obviously, not what we wanted to happen by any means. The director's board was really unhappy about how the whole thing went. Unhappy that we lost him. Unhappy that we can't bring VT to you guys, to the community anymore. But at the end of the day, we decided to dig in our heels and, take the loss and move on, and still do everything we can to bring the best community that we can forward. And so if anybody asks, we're not expecting you to hide the fact. We don't expect you to tell them mind your own business or anything like that. That's not good PR, and it's not good for the community. And more than anything else, rumors destroy things faster than anything else could destroy it. And so rumors that aren't true are what we want to avoid. And so if somebody asks, if somebody's questioning it, or if you hear rumors that are untrue, correct it. Let them know. Tell them what happened. Keep your personal opinions out of it, just like I've kept mine out, just like Glendale's kept his out, just like Alex has kept his out, Stacy, etc., etc. Personal opinions don't have any place in it. But just tell him the straight facts. A vote was made to do this. The vote didn't go the way he wanted it to, and so he decided to step away from the community. Personal choice, not what we wanted to happen. But again, I don't want incorrect rumors flying around potentially causing harm to the community, and that's why when that happened that same night, I called for a community brief, just a quick community get together with people who were on, just to let them know and get ahead of it before anybody else had the chance to say something that wasn't true. We wanted to put it out there and say, this is what happened, this is our goal, and this is what's going to go on from this point on. That way, there wasn't a panic. And I think it did a pretty good job. Me and Stacy were talking about it, and we really expected the backlash to be a lot worse than it was. In fact, everybody took it very, very well for the most part, and everybody's extremely supportive still, which is fantastic. It just shows us that there's a phenomenal community, great group of players and people here. We couldn't be happier, and because of that, because we've seen that there's so many good people here as a director's board, and I speak for all the directors here, and I know I do without having to even ask, because of seeing that support and that positivity instead of negativity that could have happened, it just makes us want to work that much harder for the community. And I know that you guys as staff also probably feel the same way. And so again, let's not hide the fact. Let's not let rumors, abound and be wrong. And in fact, just tell people if they have any questions about it, or if they come to you and ask anything about it, tell them the facts and only the facts. And, if they have any questions about where the community is going or whatever, if you feel you can answer it, great. If not, send them to one of us and we'll happily answer them. So,
I do have a question though.
Go ahead.
So you say like V2 is out of the water. It's not happening, period. that makes it sound like we're going to be staying on ESX forever. There is going to be something else besides ESX. Just because Genova left, took his code, that doesn't mean V2 dead in the water completely.
Well,
there can be another one, right?
V2 itself is dead in the water. Now, as far as staying on ESX, no, absolutely not. We plan on and want to very badly move to a different framework. We're not going to use the term V2 anymore because Genova is calling his community V2RP. We want to separate ourselves from that completely. So, V2 is no longer a term we're going to use. What Scrub proposed is basically calling it GLG 2.0 when we go to a new framework. Which,
I was going to say V2 2.0.
Well, again, we want to get away from the whole V2 thing
I
because it's something else now.
or Beta, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure something out. Just let's not use V2 anymore because that refers to another community now.
Next level will be Red Leaf RP. Here we go.
Right, I don't know, but we'll call it something. But again, as staff, please be very conscientious about not using V2 anymore because it refers to another community now. Well, I use the term community loosely at this point because it's the start or trying to be the start of something there. There's not actually a server. There's not actually a quote unquote community up yet, but v2rp.com is a thing. So let's just stop using V2. Greenleaf remastered. I like that. So anyway, any other comments, questions, concerns before I turn it over to other directors who might have things on their plate? Go ahead.
Yes,
I mean,
I missed the drunk woman that broke her toilet.
Yeah, but people are tired of that. So what we were going to try to do is basically once a week change what it is, and we were going to give
another spoof one.
Well, there just aren't that many of them out there. What's the issue with the music?
It's copyrighted.
Streamers, they'll mute it if you're doing VODs.
Yeah, I mean,
it mutes the whole 30 minutes of the VOD.
They will sometimes. I mean, don't forget I stream too. They will sometimes, but you're not in actual violation of any terms of service because it's a game feature, not something you're adding onto your stream. Where you're in terms of violation as far as getting warnings and stuff like that is if you're playing, for example, Spotify or YouTube videos or whatever, and you're actually playing that music purposefully on your stream.
So you ain't gonna get any issues.
Will it mute out that particular section of your stream where you're loading in? Possibly, but it's only going to mute that one section.
Yeah, the most Twitch does is mute it out. They even provide features that allow you to have, like, the bots and whatnot. They're extras you can put into your stream they can play songs from YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, that they provide that themselves.
Right. It's when you're doing a third-party application that Twitch hasn't approved. So what was the big one that there was a famous streamer just got in pretty serious trouble because he was playing like hours and hours and hours of his own music off of his computer, not using an approved bot. So doing things like that will get you in trouble. But as far as our load screen goes, we've had so much positive feedback on the music that I really hate to get rid of that. And then the cool thing too is we're going to give our community the opportunity to pick the music, and basically the new loading screen will say who picked that particular music. So they can kind of feel like they have a little bit of pull, in the community as far as how things go, which I like that idea too. What we can maybe do is turn down the music a little bit if it's too loud. I think it's pretty good now, but as far as streaming goes, I wouldn't worry too much about it. What I do personally is I load in before I start my stream. If you crash, obviously, then yeah, you're going back into the loading screen. But again, you might have 30-40 seconds of that particular loading screen muted, and then the rest will be fine.
Quick question. I noticed that we're using some screenshots provided from the net. Are we going to be using community screenshots down the line?
I'm not gonna give anything away, but there is a
User left
post
your
to
channel.
put your screenshots up on
Yeah,
the
I
news and
saw that. That's
announcements
why I'm
forum.
asking. That's why I was asking.
I know nothing. I saw nothing. I hear nothing. Don't ask me.
I wonder what that's for.
Yeah, go put your screenshots up there though. There's some great ones that have been put up there. All right. Anyway, that's all I got. So let's just go down the list. So Alex.
What?
What?
Do you have any words of encouragement for your staff?
You're a spieler. I'll be doing reviews next week. Keep up the good work. You're all doing awesome. You make my life easy. I love you guys. That's it.
Shit.
User left your channel.
All right.
I was not prepared to bring
As he
anything
said
to this meeting. I
earlier,
apologize. My
as
gray
he-
hair's from calculus.
As he said earlier, Amar, he's doing reviews on admins like trials and fulls to see both who is getting promoted or is staying
Fired.
where they're at. Yeah, or fired or staying
Yeah,
where
you're
they're
done,
at,
Amari.
whatever it is.
Or lynched, tarred, and feathered. Either way.
Yep.
Toasted.
Yep. Okay. Then, okay, and I'm sure all you know by now, but congratulations to Diane for being selected to the board. I haven't actually had the chance to personally congratulate you yet because I've been working, so congratulations, welcome. We're glad to have you. And on that note, I leave it to you.
I have nothing. I asked my question. Right now in EMS, we're getting bigger. We're getting more medics on, more rounded hours on them, so you're seeing them more and more. So, any questions, anybody?
Yeah, when are we getting our not pink helicopter?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. There's some stuff I want them to worry about prior to just replacing the pink helicopter. We'll just keep calling the sheriffs.
The pink helicopter is actually going to be my project. That's my Trello card. I downloaded and rendered the skin UL or UV map today for it. And when I looked at it, I just about had a coronary. It's scary.
Yeah, well, you should see the reaction I have on my Twitch channel when I go upstairs and see the pink helicopter.
Yeah.
Let alone the second helicopter that says
F the feds.
Yeah, F the feds. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Anyway, I have the UV map for it. It looks like a scrambled egg, but I will figure it out, and I will have that done as soon as I can, and get you guys a legitimate EMS livery for your helicopter.
Okay, cool. Because we're working on trying to get a couple of pilots certified, right, Alex?
What? Yeah.
I've been talking with them about it. The actual question that I've had that I was wondering that I was going to ask about V2, but whatever our new version of that will be, is civilian aviation. Is that going to be brought in, or are we waiting for like the bigger servers, or like what's going on with that?
You can ask for special permission to fly. I'll take you up in the sky. I'll watch you fly. If you do good, I'll let you fly. If you do bad, well, no flying for you.
No, I mean, what I mean on that part is like if I buy my own helicopter from a helicopter shop, so I start my own aviation business or something like that. Are we waiting like technically, or are we waiting on like just it's not in the framework, or is there something special that's being holding us back or something of the sort?
Well, two things. One, we're doing boats right now. Scrub is writing the slots into the database for boats to actually own boats. And fixing, there's a major flaw in the ESX scripting for Boat Shop, which actually crashes the server quite spectacularly.
Not only that, but if you tried to pull a plane out of garage, you could pull a plane out of garage at a car spot.
Well, no, so okay, so we got that solved. You can't access aircraft or boats from the wrong thing anymore. But anyway, our priority is boats right now. Once we get the boats working and we see that it's working, we'll know how to fix the helicopters. Planes will never be available for owning, at least for the foreseeable future. Small helicopters, and we found a Schweizer 300 CBI model that looks really nice. Small helicopters will be available to purchase and own, but you'll have to actually have a pilot's license, and so the thing that's holding us back on that right now is, one, the framework, and two, is we got to figure out how we're going to implement the license and ensure that the people who are doing it are not staging an RP helicopter crash in the middle of San Andreas Boulevard. because we don't want that all the time.
Might I recommend the old school Grand Theft Auto San Andreas style, where you have like the rings and stuff you have to fly through for the test?
That's a online feature thing. It's not built into 5M. We don't have the ability to even spawn rings like that. More of what it will be is we will probably hire civilian CFIs and make that a job that they get qualified for and whitelisted for. And then if you want to be a pilot, you pay a good amount of money to go train with a CFI, and once the CFI qualifies you, then you can have your helicopter license, and you need a helicopter license to buy a helicopter. That's probably how we'll address it.
My going rates are $1,000 an hour.
That'll be a sight to see, seeing Jack trying to fly.
Oh, and this is actually a big question that I've come up with in the recent days, actually. So I know that because of technical issues in Steam ID verification and stuff, you can only be one government job, so EMS or police or whatever on that sort. Is that being sorted out? Because I have been trying to make a second character into police as well.
That's ESX. Right now, no. We have literally no way to do it because ESX reads your Steam ID as opposed to your character ID. In fact, it doesn't even deal in character IDs for the most part. So, basically, yeah, no matter what your character is, it's always going to have that same job, which I don't know. I mean, we've been brainstorming how to fix that, and I've looked online how to fix that. Scrubs looked online how to fix that, but right now ESX just doesn't allow it. Maybe in the future we want to obviously make it so that everything's by character ID, but that will most likely mean different framework.
Thank you. With this update, we now have an admin chat. I know it's going to be an odd habit to break, but for my admins, stay at a /report for talking. That way we can keep a /reports. We know like what our actual reports.
Need a macro new button. Thanks, fellas.
Yep. So there's /chat for admins to talk.
/a chat. All right.
So
yeah, I saw it pop up. I was confused.
Yeah. I will say the one thing, when we do get helicopters in and when we do have a licensing system for it, the admin's job is to be very, very alert to how people are flying, and if somebody's flying in a fail RP manner or doing things that they just absolutely should not be doing, because it is such a, I guess the word would be dangerous thing to allow civilians to do, because it could really, really disrupt roleplay. That's going to have to be something that admins are just on top of.
If you see an FBI jet next to you, you should probably land.
An FBI jet? Holy shit!
Yeah. No,
so was it gonna be like armor use?
He's gonna fly you to the airport, or you're gonna crash.
Better yet, he'll use one of those hydras so he could just like hover at you.
Oh my god! I'll intercept you.
Right.
Yep.
I've been flying my hydra.
Let's see. Let's try not to go too long tonight. So let's go to Glendale. Did you have anything?
No. I mean, I just got back. I got pulled over.
Nice.
Sorry about that.
Slow down, Leadfoot.
Nah, it was actually I was blaring on my horn and I didn't know it. I got pulled over for making noise pollution.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw you get pulled over right in front of me. I was like, oh my god.
I thought it was for the drifting, but it was noise pollution.
Yeah, we didn't even see the drifting or anything.
Alright, so since you didn't have anything, Stace.
So we're getting a lot of requests for businesses to be set up. Right now, I'm kind of taking the lead on that one, and Murphy is helping me with it. So if someone starts asking you how to set up their gang, go ahead and send them to me and Murphy. I think Glendale was helping with the criminal side. Are you still doing that?
I have a current gang, actually two currently. I have one which is the biker gang, which is Thomas Haggles or Haggles group. He's got like a 50-man biker gang for
Okay, there, sir.
3
I talked to
years.
him the other day. I told him what to do, and he was actually talking about. This is a question. So, in terms of the Lost MC, is that something that you guys are?
It's been taken out.
So it's taken out. Okay, because
Yeah,
the Haggle guys were asking about that. If they could take it.
Yeah, Clubhouse.
Once I recommended it to them, they were all for it. They just didn't think it was available, so
no,
I
it's
thought I'd
available,
point that out.
100%.
And
Very
there's
good.
one more sort of company that my friend Wyatt is starting up that he wants to talk to Callum about, because it mainly involves the police and sometimes being higher than the police because of a bail bond system. That'll be Wyatt's job to talk to you about that shit.
I'll talk to him after this.
Interesting. I like it.
Oh my god, I heard a couple people in the server talking about wanting to pull up make an PMC. Please God, no. Just saying that now.
Nope, we already said it
Yeah,
when we
please
started
God,
this community. There will never be a PMC here.
Why do we need a private military? What the fuck?
I don't know. He was talking about it in game, and I just wanted to like.
I don't know. This is not Arma.
Yeah,
PMC
exactly.
is private military company.
Like, I've had to deal with so many fucking PMCs in DayZ RP. It didn't even make sense there. It's a fucking zombie apocalypse. Why would it make sense in a fucking real life situation? Them walking down the street.
Yep.
Like,
Anyway,
I'd rather...
solid no on that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm not down with that stuff. Hell no.
Oh, you want PMC? Oh, okay, go back to Armor or Daisy.
Yeah.
Is that all you had, Stace?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
send them to me or Murphy. And if they're criminals, send them to Glendale because he has a little bit more better idea of how that works.
Alrighty.
If you find anyone that wants to do a PMC, just send them that link. They'll have better issue. They'll have a better time over there.
No, don't advertise other communities. Don't do it.
It's not another community. It's another game.
I know, but still.
The two people that were talking about
Just ban somebody for doing that the other day. Don't make me do it to the staff.
Permanently in jail right now. For now.
User was moved to your channel.
It hurts. It hurts.
Shut up, Cecil.
That's not Cecil.
I can't tell who it is. It sounds the same.
This
for the
is
most part.
Cecil. What are you talking about?
All right. Does anybody have any concerns, comments, questions, anything like that? We'll wrap this thing up here.
None so far.
Stacy.
Oh, 911, sir.
Murphy. Oh, locations? That's Scrub
No.
thing. He does map. Oh, speaking of map,
Okay.
also something to be aware of, guys, staff-wise.
We
We are
call
adding Polito back
emergency
in.
services for that,
The,
sir.
the modified Polito.
What?
Because it's way far away from the city. We don't think it's going to cause any problems. We're also, once we get Polito in, we're going to start trying to add some other things in, namely housing, which will be underground, which will give us a whole lot more teleport points that we can add more and more and more residences. We're going to add them very slowly over a period of time. So be very vigilant. And if you hear of texture loss or any problems or anything like that as something new gets added in, don't wait a day, don't wait 2 days, don't wait 3 days to let us know about it. Report it immediately. Because if you wait, then it might be after we added something else in, and we'll think that thing that we added in is the problem, and it wasn't actually the problem. That was the problem that we had before, is everything got pretty much added within a span of 2-3 weeks, and we had no idea what did what. So
yeah, when I see stuff like that, I yak about it.
I'm fine, sir.
Yep.
But I think it would be safe to put Mirror Park back in as well.
I do as well, but we're gonna wait until we put
Polito
in. Yep, we're gonna put Polito in because it's such a big
I can't hear
addition.
you, sir,
I think there's like
50,000 things.
I think it's like 4,300 and something objects that are added in. Which is a lot, but again, it's on the north side of the map, and that's not a very populated side.
I would like to
anyway.
see Polito get populated.
My girlfriend over there is between
and, that's
us
the
and
goal.
closed
We want
doors,
to make
sir.
it more appealing, and so again, it's just we're gonna put it in. We're gonna wait and see how it runs for about a week, probably. And once we know that that's not causing any issues, then it's gonna be something else, and then something else, and then eventually we want to get, to where we have a lot of custom stuff back in that we took out, and even better, more stuff, because there's more stuff coming around daily, and Scrub's getting better and better. Have you guys seen the new courtroom?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
It's
it's 100% Scrub original, and it looks great.
We are very close. She would have told me if she was pregnant,
I love
sir.
it.
I've been in there, but I still have no. It's at the FBI building, right?
Yeah, the entrance is at the FBI building. The actual courtroom itself is about 150 feet under the airport runway 34. So
there's a bunch of interiors that we can still use underneath the docks that are built into stock GTA Online.
Yeah, we're aware of them. We just need to put a teleport point into them.
There's one in there that'll be perfect for an admin jail because it's just a pitch black room. It's nothing. There's nothing there.
I would really like an admin jail.
Security.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have Scrub add in the flashing light and the flickering light, the one that looks like it's part broken and it flickers on and off.
I'll just be sitting in the corner.
Yep, with a single chair.
Right, because we could put in a command, right? Like just like how freeze works, where instead of freezing them, it sends them out of RP, where you can have a conversation with them without breaking other people's immersion.
Yeah. Because if you freeze someone in place, if they're in a car, it'll destroy the car. If they're in the middle of something,
that's
they're standing
fantastic story,
so just making them poof off the map seems much better than a freeze.
Yeah.
Also,
I would steer away from that until they're like in their 20s.
Workload off of admins. With support, like say Kindred or me.
I think you should
just like a community service
start
thing
pretty
where,
soon, sir. I think you're kind of, pushing
admin,
the limit for where you can have kids.
Or anything like that, but it would give us something to be able to talk out of character with people to fix issues. Like,
no, I'm perfectly fine with not seeing your pecker, sir.
The whole point for support was to
but you gotta find yourself like
out in Discord,
or something,
TeamSpeak, the forums. Let's
admins
focus
have
on
your
the
kids
in-game
before
stuff and support focus on the out-game stuff.
Can't really buy one, sir.
You essentially answer questions in Discord, the forums. But when it comes to in-game stuff, that's where the admins focus their attention.
I want to let you know as well for the support role. That's something that I obviously just recently
on the map,
technically took over. That is something I want to develop to have a little bit more of a larger role. You're going to have a larger role whenever GLG Voice comes out because people are going to have to figure out how to download the plugin. But much beyond that, we're going to look at, and I'm going to talk to Alex about potentially expanding your roles to, again, not be in-game, but still,
where you kind of like take in someone else's kid as their own
of the situation or whatever it may be. We want to give you a little bit more to do, but not so much talking out of character in game because that's essentially what we have the FBI skin for. So people know we don't want there to be a question who they can go out of character to. Is the whole point of it essentially?
I don't know if they.
We are bouncing around the idea of doing a very, very localized out of character.
I guess that's the biological parents of the kid.
But I'm honestly not a huge fan of the idea.
In some ways it helps,
in
other ways it creates
and I agree in some ways it does help, but then more than anything else what it'll be used for is people accusing other people of cheating or metagaming or being power gaming. It'll be, a bunch of crap.
And that happens anyway, but it happens less because they're in fear of being watched or somebody seeing that chat message. So the experienced players are less likely to do it. But with an OC chat,
well, my comment on Scrub on it was if we add that in, what'll happen is admins who are on duty, because admin is going to actually be a job now. I don't know. Did we go over that? Did we talk about that?
Not today.
Okay, so admin will actually be a job. If you're not on admin job, you can still do a lot of the admin functions, but if you want to be able to do all of the admin functions, you actually have to be on the admin job. And if you are on the admin job, if we do add a localized OOC, admins who are on that job will actually be able to see OOC no matter where it's out on the map and who's saying it. So let's say you got a player who's talking to another player and he's like, oh, you're metagaming, you're full of shit, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Admins will actually see that. And
I would like that a lot.
Saying it.
If we are going to do it, that I would definitely like.
Well, you're going to have those salty people saying, oh, go kill yourself.
Because it will happen. It will happen. And that, to be honest, another plus to it would be, it happens anyway. People press T and type in local chat and put it in parentheses and stars and asterisks and whatever it may be, that they're sending an OC message. So if we are able to actually channel it to an actual channel that admins can see, it might actually make it a little bit better.
That's kind of what I was thinking too on that. Just stay tuned. I don't have an answer for you right now. If you have a thought on it or a suggestion on it or whatever,
that's pretty much my thot. It could make the situation better.
Yeah, I mean, if you really don't want to see it, or if you really do want to see it, or whatever, yeah, just post something on Discord. That's what it's there for.
Okay.
A quick question, Danster put it in there in the text. We just had somebody in game say they lagged out and lost their dirty money. They have screenshots for proof, but I mean, I thought that was all fixed.
Hey, Riker, are you here?
I've tried telling people to make sure that they're recording when they come to the support channel and everything, so.
Riker's not here. Let me see if Scrub is able to check the database. Of course,
you're all fired.
Successful.
You're all off the team.
Go on, yeah.
Since you guys are going to be working with Polito, you guys should manually put in a trailer park and let it be ran by the Darrens and the Dukes.
Yeah, we don't have access to the database right at this very moment, but tell them to keep those screenshots and to let them know that we will verify that it was in the database and it is not now, and if that's the case, comp him.
All right.
Maybe we should have some staff do testing on the dirty money to see if it's still glitching out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. If some of you guys want to go on and do that.
I was about to, but the server's full.
Well, there's always a second server.
I think it'd also
Speaking of staff, I just want to welcome Wiles, Chow, Starmanis, Amari, and Ricky to the admin team.
Welcome.
Congrats, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
We should
You'll
also
love it
keep
here.
track of the
It's a hellish
repeat
nightmare.
offenders.
What's that?
The repeat offender, like the regular customers for I just lost my dirty money and I just lost this, I just lost that. To try to keep track of the repeat
somebody
customers.
wants to put together a spreadsheet maybe, and if you do a comp, put it on the spreadsheet. I think that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I'll have to come up with something. I don't know if spreadsheet's the best idea.
What about text channel and Discord?
A channel in Discord would be fine. Just something where you can easily, quickly put on there. Yeah, comp so and so, this for this or whatever. Doesn't need to be in detail.
Caleb, did you say spreadsheet? I can make you a form.
There you go.
Do a
Caden,
form,
make a form.
and then you guys can check to
Yeah.
see how much the name is on there. Form sounds better than having to type in a spreadsheet.
Well, it will. It's a form that will dump into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, reading spreadsheets are fine.
There you go. That's fine. Just make sure, guys, admins or whatever, if you're comping somebody, just throw it on there once Caden gets that done. Just because we do need to keep fairly good track of that, because we don't want to have people abusing it. If we do have people abusing it, we need to address that.
That's exactly how I feel sometimes. I'll see somebody's name pop up and I'm like, I just lost 100K. It's like, I'm not comping 100K unless you bring me some video or something.
Yeah, there needs to be some accountability to that, so it's a good idea. Oh, you don't have access to the box, okay. Well, that's really, I think, all we have to go over and talk about. So I'll let you guys go and do your things. You know, again, I can't express enough, and I know I speak for everybody when we thank you guys, everybody on staff. The community is not a community without the people behind the scenes running it and ensuring that it runs smoothly. So thanks for all the hard work you guys do. Keep it up, and thanks for coming to the meeting and being here to talk about these kind of things. We're always doors open, so if you guys got any questions or anything like that, happy to answer them. So we'll let you guys get going. Everybody have a great Thursday night, and we'll talk to you later on.
It's Thursday?
Just
User left your channel.
letting you know that my friend is still waiting for you.
Okay.
You guys need to get a job if you do those Thursday.
Friday, boys and girls. Beer o'clock.
All right.
Hey,